freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? And wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is AntiMedia Radio.
I want to get the language right. The government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! A bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but it's love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of me?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
It is March the 24th, 2016. My name is S.M. Gibson, and you are listening to AntiMedia Radio. We are live right now from Birmingham, Alabama, but we are broadcasting all over the globe. Joining the studio with us tonight, as always, Mr. Kevin Knight. Kevin, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Trying to stay dry. Good to be here with you guys.
You too, sir. And Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, how goes it?
I'm absolutely wonderful, Miss Gibson. It's good to see you fellas tonight.
I tell you what, before we get into the show, I just want to say a few things that I've been thinking about today. I don't want people who listen to the broadcast to think that I'm here or anybody on this program is here to tell you that we're right and this is the certain way to believe or think. That's not why I'm here. We're here, hopefully we're all here together to have a conversation about everything that's going on, and we can all figure this out together. If anybody's counting on me to give them the right path and right answer, then you're going to have a hard time.
And again, if you're looking for somewhere that you need someone to help you steer your narrative in the way you think, there are plenty of other networks, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, that are willing to do that for you right now, 24 hours a day, cramming it up your butt.
That's it. As far as candidates go, there's.
Speaking of cramming it up your butt.
There's no candidate
that doesn't want to.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, I actually got this from Claire Burnish, a wonderful writer for AntiMedia, who will be on later in the program. She actually posted something up on her Facebook. It was a picture of a bunch of little screws, these little screws, little flathead screws out in this audience, and had their little banners and stuff. And it had a picture of the person at the podium. It was another screw from the top, but underneath the podium where no one could see, there was a little flathead screwdriver. Think about it for a minute. You're either the screwdriver or you're the screw. So how are y'all you screws doing out there tonight? Yeah, I'm tired of getting screwed myself. So let's see what we can't discuss, and maybe we can come up with a solution. Maybe not tonight, but maybe some night.
I think that's the great mystery. I think that's what we're all trying to figure out is what is the solution? I think everybody thinks they, to a degree, have an answer, but I'm certainly not going to pretend that I have this, the grand answer. I know I have a lot of questions about things, and I don't have any trust with mainstream corporate media.
Or mainstream corporate politicians, for that matter.
Oh, well, that I haven't, ever.
We're going to talk about a few of those tonight. One in particular, we don't have to look very far down the road to see. Making national news today is the governor of our state, Alabama,
This is
Governor
a juicy
Robert
gossip.
Bentley. Oh, man. Yeah, it really is, and it's a very good illustration of why our government has completely failed us. Why? It's still a failed campaign to march down to the polls and make your voice heard. Well,
I tell you what, hold on, before you jump on Robert Bentley.
Oh, man, I'm ready to jump all over it.
I want to jump
You
to
too?
area code 760. Thank you for calling AntiMedia Radio tonight. This is your host, SM Gibson. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Austin Mathay. I'm calling from San Diego, California.
Awesome, from San Diego. What's going on?
What up?
Not much, man. Just saw the post. Figured I'd listen in.
Cool. What's your thoughts on the elections right now?
I'm not too sure, man. Just been watching it, man.
Have you made a decision as to who to vote for yet? I'm curious.
Are you gonna vote?
Like I said, I don't know. I'm kind of just watching it, you know.
Well, cool. I tell you what, thanks so much for calling in, and thanks so much for listening. Awesome.
Dumbfounded. He sounded absolutely
He
dumbfounded
did.
by it,
Awesome from San
and I
Diego.
trust me, I can totally agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
The
I feel that
dumbfounded
way
part.
most days. That's okay.
That's when Daddy starts talking.
Oh, man. Can you believe he tweeted out a picture of Ted Cruz's
Wow.
wife, old Miss Goldman Sachs, and his wife? side
The
by side?
Sachs and Goldman
Like, I know
Sachs.
everybody's talking about that, and I get that's the big thing right now, but can you believe that man did that?
That
Dude,
ain't-
he
well,
is
no.
such a
Can I
jerk,
believe-
man. He is the epitome of the backyard bully who grew up that you had in elementary school, that you happen to run into in high school, who's still the same bully.
Well, and you know, the
he's
most
terrible.
important question to
Is
ask
it
here,
real? Is it an act? Or
can
is
you
it real?
believe? Can you
That's
believe
what I don't know.
that a candidate for the United States president has not only been on record about talking about the size of his wang, it's now posting pictures about my wife is hotter than your
Yeah,
wife. to
my
Ted
wife.
Cruz.
Yeah,
Blowing it up, blasting it on,
my
on
wife
social
is
media.
hotter
That's
than
crazy.
your wife. What up?
Yeah,
What
it's
are
like
you gonna do?
16-year-old kids, man. The president of the United States, the
Well,
candidate for the president of the United States.
I think he's gonna win.
Yeah, it's looking like he's steamrolling his way. I don't
like
even think
it or not.
Hillary and her dirty tricks, see Arizona, are gonna be able to stop the juggernaut that is Donald J. Trump.
I don't know. Well, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I still can't figure out if it's for real. I've asked the whole time. 1 second I think like he's this crazy rich dude, and then I think, oh no, this is a trick play.
There's
This
no
ain't-
candy on that bus. No,
Well, there's no
the
candy.
van.
No, there's no candy on the van. Regardless, the man.
sometimes
if
some-
it's real or not, the man's crazy.
Right.
He's
Some
crazy,
victims find
crazy.
themselves on that bus without necessarily being of their own will.
Yeah, true that.
No, he's nuts. No matter what, I don't care if he's the most renegade thing that there's ever been. The guy's insane, and he says insane things, and he basically foretells a future of fascism in the United States of America.
That, and he tweets like a angry, bitter 16-year-old girl.
It's so funny though.
Oh, you're Hitler for saying that. You know, that's something I've noticed a lot lately is some of the friends that I've got that have were more, I won't say anarchistic leaning, but more libertarian leaning, who have now suddenly jumped on the Trump wagon and,
I think it's actually a disservice to the legacy of Hitler to juxtapose.
No,
I'm
I say
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry.
No, and I
Hitler
say
was
that
evil.
because
Don't say that.
But see, there's so many
Hitler had a
people-
lot more finesse, though. Come on now.
How do you know?
There are people that get mad
You
at
ever seen
you.
him speak?
Oh, he did have
I
some
don't
finesse.
speak German.
I don't either, and I probably would have voted for
You
the
could
guy.
put it on
because, I mean,
mute.
he was just
God,
that
shut
freaking
up.
convincing.
You could put it on
It
YouTube
took
and
9
watch it.
minutes. 9 minutes. Fired.
I thought I was fired last year. In fact, what am I doing here?
It took 9 minutes. You endorsing Hitler speeches.
I'm trying to stir
I'll
up the
fire you
pot,
for
man.
that.
I'm trying to stir up the pot.
So it took 9 minutes.
They don't let you do that on CNN.
No.
That's why I found my way to the show.
That is correct.
Just for the record, the only reason I was not actually comparing Donald Trump to Hitler, but when you so few people seem to understand what fascism is, that so many people think that you're calling or that you're referencing Hitler to Donald Trump because you expect Donald Trump to wipe out 6 million of any given race. Now that may be a couple people out there, that may be a genuine fear.
I don't
think anybody realistically fears that. It's the whole fascist angle and the fascism that Hitler portrayed is what makes those of us like ourselves and other like-minded individuals make the Hitler comparison, because to us, 6 million Jews, of course, that's horrible, but we also see a fascist dictator and see that as part of it.
Because look at it this way. It's like, okay, so what if he's Hitler-like? So what if it's not 6 million Jews? So what if it's 5,000 Muslims?
Or 11 million Mexicans. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But that's a huge deal. That's nothing needs to happen.
Oh, definitely is. But I don't see that coming
there needs to be zero anybody anywhere.
Oh, I agreed 100%. I just think a lot of people that are making, a lot of people, I've seen these funny memes lately, kind of the backlash, it's almost cool it's gone from, it was cool to hate Trump. Now it's not cool to hate Trump. Now it's cool to have been a hater and to come on board and all these different trains of thought about Trump. But, people are getting, a couple of people get their panties in a wad because of Hitler references. But I just want to, drive home that point that a lot of us are making, that do make Hitler references.
I'd like to say real quick that this minute is sponsored by George W. Bush. Please continue.
Yep. George W. Bush.
The Bush-Cheney Foundation.
It is currently 9/11.
Loving white people, one at a time.
Dick Cheney.
Compassionate conservatism.
9/11 p.m. on March the 24th.
That's it. We're getting all of our sponsorships dropped after the show. Goodbye, Nabisco.
Man, there's been Nabisco money floating around.
Oh, I wouldn't.
Who hid it from me?
Nothing. Nabisco. Keep those checks coming in, guys.
There's money.
Have you ever had a Nabisco cracker? They make some of the most delicious crackers.
What do they make?
I don't know. It's crackers. I was just paid to say that. I'm not actually going to eat the crackers.
They
Come on, man.
The little fruit.
Eat crackers.
How many GMOs are in those crackers? Come
Thanks.
on now.
We 3 crackers.
Crackers. All right.
So, yeah, I don't know where it's going to go from here, though. I mean,
where else could it go? I mean, we got the primaries coming up. I mean, dude, who doesn't believe Donald Trump's going to sink?
I don't.
Well, anyways, I want to get...
No, sink the nomination. He's going to get it for the Republicans. He's definitely going,
Well,
I don't know. There's
a
He'll
lot
be the
of schools
Republican
of thought
candidate.
floating around about that right now because it's really crazy.
I don't know. I don't know if he's ever going to be president. I believe he'll beat Hillary. I just don't know if they're going to allow it. Look, Reagan wasn't in office long when Mr. Jody Foster got all worked up. So, Hinckley.
I don't know. It just really... I don't know. I personally think if Trump does actually get into the office, if they somehow is able to still just, continue to juggernaut his way into the White House. If he's able to actually get in there, when they pull him in and they have the little initial briefing, he's going to waffle. He is going to waffle so quick. Oh, hey guys, no, forget about all that stuff I said on stage. I'm here for y'all. What do y'all want done? We're going to make this happen.
Straight to the center and
please don't
to
shoot me in the back of the head. That's it. No, I don't want to see the Kennedy film. I saw it. I know what's going on. I'm cool here. What do you guys need? I'm here for you.
Look,
I'm not racist. I love everybody.
He's crazy, but he's not stupid.
Please don't shoot me.
This guy, he comes across like he gets all his news he constantly watches cable news and he gets everything from his Facebook feed. He's always looking at Facebook. Mm-hmm. And then he gets a majority of his news from like those emails, those mass emails that tell you some crazy story.
Text Mars type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One like equals one share, or one share equals
one
prayer. Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, man. He's like, no. We can't have this horrible thing that I just read.
Have you ever seen a picture of his wife? She's very attractive.
That my wife's brother's cousin sent me an email. We can't have this. We've got to stop this travesty.
Well, I think he does that, and then he waits to hear a reply.
On stage as he runs for president and talks about said thing.
Yeah. And he waits to hear a reply, and if there's a thunderous applause, then suddenly it becomes a talking point for him. But at the same time, if you stand back and listen to everything that he talks about that particular subject, he doesn't say anything at all. It's
Ted Cruz does the same thing. That's a pretty common talking, thing to do when you're doing an impromptu thing.
Well, I know that's a politician thing to do, but he does it. I mean,
well, since he has,
nauseum.
But here's the benefit that Trump has had, especially since he's been so, should I say, fluid with his policy positions.
Fluid.
He can just basically gauge it like a WWE crowd and just go with whichever way they're cheering.
He's good at it.
I want to know what cabinet position Vince McMahon's going to get. Because all I want to know.
He's flipped on everything. He can flip wherever he wants on any position. Oh wait, no, they want this now. Literally. I can flip right now. Done. Boom. Flip.
You want a vending machine in the hallway?
It
Boom.
happens.
You got it.
You got it.
Well, he knows so many people have put their trust into him that they could care less what policy position that he goes for.
That's it. I tell you what. Area code 281. Thank you for calling AntiMedia Radio. This is your host, SM Gibson. Tell us your name and where you're calling from tonight.
Tobias Eugene, Houston, Texas.
Tobias from Houston. How goes it?
Hook 'em horns.
Hey, no, Rockstar Jayhawks.
Ooh, okay. Very nice. I'm moving to Kansas.
Yeah, I haven't been able to catch y'all's show a lot on my internet, but I saw y'all's post with Hillary Clinton on there killing Muslims. That's kind of her thing, that and Africans.
Oh yeah. She loves that sort of thing.
Yeah, she's okay with killing.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a war hawk, definitely. Okay. But I have a question. It's kind of like a more of a statement than asking a question. But ever since Good Neighbor policy was issued by FDR, where we started telling Latin America that hey, we're going to come in and we're not going to interfere economically, but we're just going to install dictators. And as we saw, we used proxy wars through Latin America, which spread over to the Middle East, spread to Southeast Asia. Thing is, we've invested so much money into a military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, globalization, building up nation-states to protect our economic interest. Do you think there's a point in voting? Like, will the people that have invested all this capital allow us just to, vote and change?
I personally think there's no point in voting at all.
I really want to be Mr. Positive and say there is, but
there's no candy in that van.
Yeah,
none.
I don't.
I'll go with one. In a hypothetical situation, I would say yes if you had suddenly some 95% of people that just completely shattered the polls all for one person, but we're not going to see any kind of resemblance of
This is the best way I'll say it. This is what I'll say about voting. I can't say I personally do it. So, take this for what you will. But it's probably better to vote than not vote because what's it going to hurt?
Well, let me ask you this. If your state held a referendum, if Houston, Texas, or if Texas, the state, held a referendum, or if Alabama held a referendum to completely either abolish the state income tax or cut it in half by a vote of the people, would you go vote?
Yes.
Okay. Now, from that point on, for everybody.
And I believe in voting. I voted, I'm 29, started voting in 2005. I voted in every local election and state election, and I voted Dr. Jill Stein in one presidential election. I'm big on you can't change everything from the top if you're not willing to change things from the bottom. And only 10% of people vote in local elections.
Right.
And then everybody wants to change things from the top.
Right. I'm actually glad to hear you say that because I'll be honest with you, I completely see both sides of it.
I think that's a great.
But to say that voting carte blanche is automatically the argument that you're hurting other people or you're infringing other people or you're giving credit to the system. No, I think that's BS, man. But I'm right up your alley. I agree with you completely 100%. I don't blame you for voting. Obviously, you didn't harm anybody else, right, by voting for that. What?
No.
Right?
Well, like Jill Stein, I can think of a lot worse candidates for president of the United States.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, I had dinner with her 3 times, and I made a last-minute decision to vote for her. I agreed on her foreign policy of not funding any of these rebels, not even like the more like social groups like the PKK or like the Fatahs or anything. She's like, no, just end it all. Well, let's get out of other people's business.
In other words, she's actually for legitimately ending the war on terror. That's awesome.
Ending the war on terror. Yeah, ending the war on terror. An actual 2-state solution for Israel. No, not 2-state, a 1-state secular democracy, not the 2-state solution where the Palestinians would just be wiped out right away. Like, who's gonna build up the Palestinians once they have a state? It's either gonna be us or Russia. That's gonna be like, I think, the same dilemma.
Now, Trump has the deal worked out. It's going to be the toughest, probably the toughest deal in the history of mankind ever. There's a deal out there. I'm sure he's working on it right now fervently as we speak in his hot tub with his hot wife. Go ahead.
I fully agree. Yeah, we actually have a Houston. I'm not sure if you're aware. Houston's like the hotbed for white nationalists. We deal with a lot of like American black shirts here, Jewish Defense League. All your other white nationalists and fascist circles are here in Houston. There's just a lot of them, and it's getting crazy down here because Houston's kind of there's a lot of progressives here or open-minded people. There's a lot of people here who aren't assholes, and then you got this whole like hotbed of ultra assholes here.
I'm really for having been ignorant.
And you've got the craziest traffic. And you got the craziest
traffic
too.
I don't know where the white nationalists are at.
Gotta keep over the Southern Poverty Law Center on Prestige. He's all over that.
Yeah.
I think we're probably listed as a hate group right now, too.
Hey, you only know, dude. I had it out with Morris Steves in a really good, almost 15-minute exchange at Sanford University. We'll have to get into it one day.
We'll have to discuss that whenever coffee sometime.
Oh, it is. It's good.
Hey, what?
So hey, y'all's whole thing is, hey, vote because you're not going to harm anybody and.
No, not all of ours. I'll be honest with you, none of us can speak for each other. I don't think any of us can speak necessarily for AntiMedia. I'm active in the Libertarian Party nationally and locally.
Yeah,
these guys,
I am not involved in any.
So some stuff we'll vote for. We may vote for, some of us vote, some of us don't. So we really can't tell you. We each have individual.
I personally am.
That's cool. Actually, I just wanted y'all's opinion, not to change mine, just to see where y'all stood.
I think
each one of y'all individually, not as a collective.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. I'm on board with you, man.
I tell you what, thank you so much for calling in, and thank you so much for listening. Great call.
Good call.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. I loved it. I love to hear calls like that, and that's the way you discuss ideas. It's not about, okay, well, I don't vote, and here, let me go on for about an hour and a half and tell you why you're a dumbass for voting, why you should blah blah this.
I mean, and you know what? And I've always.
And you made a wonderful analogy, Kevin. Not all voting is bad. There is some voting that is good, but
I don't think it's bad
until we really start to come together though and show.
You can't say voting's bad. Voting's not bad.
No,
that's what so many.
It's just, is it pointless or not?
Well, and it's also the two.
How many other things do we do that are pointless, though? I mean, like, how many other things do we all do that are really necessary in the grand scheme of it?
Well, the two-party paradigm, monopoly over the system right now really has tainted
and I know there's people that's going
to
say it's bad because you're complicit.
That's exactly what I'm talking. Yeah. That's exactly the kind of the mindset that I was taking on this is towards those people that are actually, it's what you want to do, but it's when people try to belittle other people and act as if.
And then you start belittling, now I'm voting, but you're not voting for the candidate that I'm going to vote for, and you're a dumbass, and here, let me tell you why.
Right, it's the same thing.
I understand why people...
You're going to vote? I can't believe you would do that.
Right.
Oh, you're going to vote for that guy? I can't believe you would do that.
But then but you really find out where people's principles are and where their ego stops. When you ask them a question like, hey, if you could vote, if the state holds a referendum tomorrow to get away with the income tax, simply by the act of going in voting, would you do it?
I can get behind that.
Yes, I would.
But I actually know somebody, and I'll leave it out, but I know somebody who actually said no, they still would not vote. They would not vote. Voting stupid. I'm like, dude, listen, you got the chance to put how much money back in people's pockets by allowing this, and on some kind of principle that you've seemingly based.
And look, okay, what? Because look, I think certain elections are rigged. I don't think every election's rigged. But if it was or wasn't, so what? I'm still going to say, you know what? Just in case it didn't, I want my income tax to go down.
Well,
so
right,
here's
exactly.
my say.
And again, let's say that the government was crazy enough to allow us to vote for such a thing.
Well, if we got to the referendum point,
until I see something that is going to change my life in that positive of a manner. No, I think I'm going to stay away from the polls for a while. Yeah, I don't think I've done anybody any favors by the votes that I've made so far. We'll just leave it at that.
The reason I actually brought this up is because there's a lady who is a longtime member of the Libertarian Party nationally who who's been in the party for I think some 40 odd years. I had the pleasure of listening to her speak and listen to her give a little bit of instructional activism. And that's one of the things that she worked on.
Oh, the statism
in her state. Well, in Minnesota, they actually
statism.
They actually accomplished that. They actually minimized the
fired.
They shot for trying to eliminate the. They tried to eliminate. That's exactly.
If I knew this was going to be a competition, I could have got fired a lot sooner than 9 minutes it took me. I'm just saying.
Wait, let's allow Kevin to finish this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I'm almost through. I'll wrap it up quickly. But this lady actually, their organization tried to shoot for a complete elimination of the state income tax. Got half of it. So they backed the state down to half of what the income tax. Immediately put tons of money back in people's pocket. And so that's why I bring that about, because, that kind of stuff right there, it only takes a small group of people, and trust me, they're probably working in your state.
Oh, yeah.
That are doing it. And those are the situations where I say, how can you say that voting absolutely always is horrible?
No, I don't think voting's horrible.
Oh, no, I don't. And of course, I'm not speaking to you guys, but that's, so yeah, anyways.
At all. I think when you're voting for president, I think it's just like, oh, this is cute.
Oh, right. Well, the popular, the Electoral College picks the
right.
picks the president. So
right.
That's why I don't mind necessarily not voting. In fact, I could see somebody voting for Mr. Sanders, even a hardcore libertarian. I know a few that voted for Sanders.
I'm not talking because I know people have these huge ideological beliefs on voting. This is my stance on voting. I don't, vote. It's probably a good vote. Yeah. I'm not against voting.
I just don't get
all. Good for you.
But as far
get out of the house.
As far as President of the United States go, and probably certain other votes,
the game is rigged.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, as far as
the game is rigged.
This is cute. Can we not pretend?
I wish we could get a caller from Arizona that stood out in the blistering Arizona sun to wait patiently for their voice to be heard. And I believe the polls closed on a lot of those folks standing out there, right? Yeah. Yeah, but trust me, it's going to be fixed by the general election.
With that said, and this is where I go back to: is Trump? Is it real? Is it real or is it a show? I mean, it's a show. But
it's a show, but I'd say it's probably real at this point, man. Everybody
I go back and forth.
It is real. I mean, listen, I'm not one of those people that says, "Look, the state does." That sounds like saying the state doesn't exist. It's here. It's in our face,
ladies and gentlemen. It's the Trump show.
I lean towards it's real. I lean towards this guy has got a bunch of money and this
WWE. Grab a chair and smash it across some guy's head. There ain't nothing real about what you're saying. Trump is going to waffle so quick.
That's
when
what
he
I
walks through that
think.
door. He's going to be your Uncle Tom. He's going to be your boy.
I do think this is not. I think this is way more orchestrated on his end than it appears. I think
he's brilliant.
Yeah,
his organization
he knows
is
what
brilliant.
He's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
I'll give him that.
No doubt about it. This is not. It seems like he's just some drunken sailor that's wandered out onto the pier late at night. No, he knows who he's talking to and how he's talking to.
Well, he's very conscious of his image and his brand, which that is where he apparently has amassed all of his wealth. Is his brand. And let's consider
he knows
his
how to
brand
speak to a large group of people at once.
He speaks on a fourth grade level, and that's not to insult the audience. That doesn't mean that the audience is fourth grade only has a fourth grade intelligence, but that means that at least you can understand when a fourth grader is talking to you, just like you can understand a 12-year-old. But more people understand these basic concepts that he's at least trying to push, and I can't help but sympathize with John Oliver when he says that there's a part of him that likes Trump. It's the part that he hates of himself that he hates that likes Trump. But, you know, there's an appeal to Trump. And I think a lot of people get that. On the other hand, you know, hey, you know, you can agree with something that somebody says in principle without agreeing with the person ideologically or on any other platform. And that's kind of, Trump has said a few things I think we can all agree with, but, you know, a broken clock is right twice a day. Just like Bernie Sanders, we can all agree once or twice on what he says.
He says, I mean, pretty much everything. And it depends on which side of the mouth he's talking
to, right?
And he knows how to talk out of both sides, and eventually
he's great
grab onto something you want to hear and try to draw you in. It's just like, again, you know, we brought up on this show the redacted pages, brought up, you know, more needs to be.
That we've not heard about once. We heard that once.
Yeah, again, it was a little, yeah, I could be that candidate. Come here.
Right.
There's no candy in that man. None.
Well, it's like you brought up, too, a minute ago. He knows when he's speaking to a crowd and he throws a line out there that gets a response. He's great at reading the audience. You know, I heard more negative feedback about his speech at APAC than I've heard about any other speech. And the critique was mainly that he had to have had some great speechwriters because it seemed unlike Donald Trump. It was by the book. It was obviously, he was trying to be biased. You know, he was speaking to APAC, of course, so you know who he's speaking to. And he was talking about this two-state solution, but he made sure that he understood and he stressed that he is an Israel first person. But he would try to be objective in his listening. But, you know, the man is smart. Give it to you. How many in 50 years, how many different playbooks? This will be somebody else's playbook, guarantee you. You know, is Donald Trump following somebody else's playbook, or is Donald Trump rewriting the playbook?
I don't understand how it, you know, that's the thing though, is that there is an X factor to Trump. There's nobody else can get away with the crap that he does.
I mean, I don't think it's by accident.
And being the capacity of trying to run for president of the United States, I mean, this is unprecedented. I want your dick jokes and,
it's a perfect
Twitter
storm.
pick wars with my wife is hotter than yours.
So they say this guy was reading Hitler speeches.
Well, no, so he said
that's his accident.
That's his first. Yeah, that's his wife. She gave an interview, and I believe at the time
Ivana?
she gave it. Yeah, it was. Wow. It was the People magazine, and if I'm not mistaken, she was married to him at the time. I had a critique for somebody else that
Ivana was a very, very beautiful woman.
He's Donald Trump, man. He pulls. He pulls them things. Is she the chick that had one leg?
No, that was Paul McCartney, man. What the hell is wrong with you tonight?
Yeah, I thought there was some. I knew that she had one leg, but I was thinking there was.
I wonder what Heather Mills is doing right now.
I thought there was some other affliction with one of Trump's wives besides Trump.
We need to really start pushing this show to the UK, man. I think the folks across the pond would really like our sense of humor.
But it's like
only because they wouldn't understand it. It'd be more like we're watching from the outside in, kind of like an amusement.
Well, they have a very limited scope on what people from Alabama are like.
3:30 in the morning over there.
I don't care. They can get out.
Hey, it's
a few of them up doing coke.
Hey, I was exactly the. Hey, I'm still. Hey, if you're
remember the caller from Greece?
Hey, bro, if you're still out there listening, hey, what's up, man? I'll see you on Facebook. I'm friends with that guy, that caller on Facebook now, dude. You'd be surprised how often.
For those who don't remember, Kevin, why don't you tell them about the caller?
Yeah, this is the call that called in at 5:30, and we asked how he was doing, exchanged pleasantries. He informed us that he was up doing blow and smoking weed. And we didn't really know what to say, but he claimed he was in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And didn't believe it.
He kept blaming the Jews for everything for some odd reason.
He blamed the Jews like once or twice. He mentioned aliens, but then he kept going. And
it was weird because that's where I would stop him. Like he would, the aliens.
He knew where to get.
Nutty.
I feel so awful for cutting that guy's call off. We really should have just let him go.
We did after like 15 minutes.
He was crazy.
He talked for a while.
He didn't go that long.
Listen, he was on
I
for a
didn't
while.
want to hear that.
I'm pulling transcripts up. We're probably going to listen to that.
No, whatever.
We're just going to replay that shit. We're going to play that hour and the second hour tonight.
He mentioned the Jews thing in like a rant.
Yeah, it's just like, you're kind of off, buddy.
Yeah, he just skimmed over it real quick. But
I actually, I'm going to start screaming at him, but it's like, okay.
Yeah, he and the guy are on our friends on Facebook now, ironically.
Well,
and believe me, he's probably doing that.
I'm a lot more picky about who my friends are on Facebook. I'm just saying.
Hey, it's Facebook, man.
Yeah.
The worst.
Everything he types is.
I don't want you to friend any of my family members either while I'm at it. I don't want that guy.
I don't have to.
I don't want that guy
anywhere
near my family.
I don't have to friend your family members, man. I've known your family members.
That's Homeland Security right now.
This is
putting your Facebook on lock.
This is neither anti nor media. This is just nonsense. Where's Claire at?
Where's Claire? Claire's calling in the second hour this evening.
I tell you what, I want to talk about just a little bit. There's a story up on AntiMedia.org right now. the headline of the article is, "New opening documentary completely exposes barbaric Saudi regime."
Dang it. I thought it was going to be at the Freddie Got Fingered story. Who's actually put out the documentary? Because I'd like to get into that.
Okay, it was a British television crew, and they like snuck in over there. It was all undercover. And yeah, it's called Exposure Saudi Arabia.
This isn't Dirty Land.
And this is available where now?
You can get it. You can watch it online. It was broadcast on ITV like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
And what's the general? I mean, is it what we expect from like a Vice type film, or is it?
Yeah. It's really disturbing, but it's nothing we don't already know. But it's saying it.
But you can see it, right?
And it's like, oh my gosh, what is this?
We're talking about what militants like state-sponsored stuff.
Like
the same thing that we're supposed to be fighting in the war on terror.
Oh yeah,
but these are our allies and our friends.
And then it talks about the British connection
to the Saudis.
Yeah, it's bad. It's dirty. It's filthy. It's nasty.
Money is the root of all evil.
And nobody cares.
Actually, for the love of money is the root of all evil.
Nobody cares. I mean, they've already executed over 70-something people this year. It's March the 24th.
I believe that. In fact, at the same time that we were upset about the militants being killed, beheaded by ISIS down by the beach, Saudi Arabia was busy decapitating other people. And that's one of our, like you said, one of our
what they're doing in
allies.
Yemen right now?
Oh yeah, what they bombing people left and right, and they're doing so a lot with weapons coming from Canada from Justin. How you pronounce his last name? That makes Canada basically now an implicit sponsor of terrorism, along with the United States government.
Oh well, yeah, a lot of it.
If you didn't think they already were, but how many people are aware that Yemen is even there's even a problem in Yemen?
Well, here's the thing. At least. We're not having to fight Saudi Arabia's battle for them for once. Most of the time, we're doing it for them.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, whose side? From what I understand, Iran is sponsoring which side of this? Opposite side of Saudi Arabia. Is that correct? It seems so. Because we've got different militias now that are fighting that seem to be completely
They're not Facebook friends.
Backwards than what we see in the Middle East with the. Recently we saw, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Hezbollah, they cut off one of ISIS's one of their main supply routes. Hezbollah did, of course, sponsored by Iran, working with, I forget, one of our other partners. That's another conflicting thing. We're talking about bombing Iran and sending them back to the Stone Age. And these guys are one of the main fighters of ISIS.
Fighting ISIS.
Yeah.
And we actually, I don't know why everybody keeps forgetting about this, but we just made deals with Iran. We finally have brokered some sort of negotiation between us and Iran, and it's been a chilly relationship.
This is what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. And this isn't like 100% firm. This is what's going on. This is just kind of a theory.
Word.
Okay, it speaks about it in the Saudi documentary, but kind of views how we view Saudi Arabia as a necessary evil, and it just kind of is what it is.
For oil, is that the
general?
Okay, that's your main benefit.
So ISIS I think can be viewed the same way. Obviously, whether by complete accident or by some sort of elaborate design, which I don't know if anybody who knows if they're smart enough to ever do anything like that. ISIS exists right now, as strengthened as they are, because of actions of the United States of America.
And not just the U.S., but Western governments.
Yes,
but primarily United States federal government and its entities. Yeah, definitely. Well, most of ISIS is,
and I think that could be viewed as it's a necessary evil for them because that allows them
to work with ISIS. Or?
No. I don't think they want to work with. It allows them an excuse to stay over there, to stay in the region, and it allows them, especially with with how implanted into Syria the Islamic State is. It gives them an excuse to be in Syria and to take out Assad.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, definitely.
And that's obviously, a very, that's not an understated to say that they're very vocal about that.
Well, we don't hear as much anymore, but yeah, that was for a while. That was the chief concern.
They want Assad gone, and I think ISIS at least provides them an excuse to be there.
To do so, right?
And I don't think they have any interest in ISIS being gone. Not right now.
Well, it definitely doesn't play. I mean, whose advantage would it play into for them to be gone? As far as I guess the way that we see it. But I would tend to agree.
I don't know. I mean, I don't believe if the United States of America really wanted to deal with something, sincerely deal with it, they couldn't do it.
You know what perplexes me is that that Russia came in and now they're announcing that they have mostly conquered or completed their goals and they're now actually leaving. I thought that was a little bit odd. I'm curious to see. Of course, and we have no idea what is actually going on over there. Literally, they could be lying to us. They could be lying to us more than what they are, and we would probably never know it whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, who knows the absolute truth? And that's the thing, and that's why I kind of said what I said at the beginning of this show. I'm not going to sit here and pretend, hey, I've got all the answers here, and I've got all this figured out, because I think that'd be foolish. I can tell you what my research has told me and what my common sense has figured out, but who knows? It could all be a lie. It could all be the truth.
You mentioned the possibility, and
I'm not about to tell anybody.
You mentioned the probability, or the probably not,
and that's maybe some, well, that's a way to get away with whatever. But I mean, I cannot, in good faith, trust a government. It's like, I don't believe you about King. I don't believe you about Kennedy. I didn't see plane in that giant hole.
I mean, these guys don't have they don't have the best record, of telling the truth to the American people.
No, that a absolutely deplorable record, I might add. So
So
that's kind of why I'm not voting, y'all.
Let me ask you now.
I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to deter. I know there's people out here that I think peer pressured. Oh, you better not go vote. How dare you?
I'm not peer pressuring anybody. I'm not
doing
that. A simple statement.
Something to add to the conversation.
I don't think that at all.
We're talking about.
I personally, am just like, I don't trust it. That's just me.
Yeah. So why am I going to go vote for something which is my voice of support for a system that I know is completely
I agree
not
with
good
what
for
the
me,
caller from Houston
my family,
said
my neighbors, so on and so forth.
Of going and voting in local. I think that's probably a smart thing to do. I mean, if you're in Alabama,
you can go check out my Facebook page sometime. See what our local vote's getting us these days.
Well,
it's still not.
I don't know how.
I didn't even get to finish my Governor Bentley story.
I don't think Scott. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Scott's necessarily saying that you should feel inclined to go vote in every single election. But if there is a difference to be made by the individual vote, it's going to be at the local level on subject matter. It's
the very local level.
Well, look, and I personally believe, a lot of us are.
The more money involved, the less power for the people that there will be.
Starve the beast, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And if nothing more, look, if you can go vote down a increase in your state gasoline tax.
If it's all the money in the world to put you in office, listen, nobody cares what you got to say.
Yeah.
Your vote don't matter. People paid for this vote.
Oh yeah, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money.
So nobody cares what you think.
Let me ask you real quick. We mentioned this just briefly last week. Cuba. Is Obama still in Cuba?
No, he went to Argentina.
I can't even believe he spent the night there. That was brave.
What do you guys think about it?
I don't care.
I keep hearing this whole people angered.
It's not like I will, but
about Cuba, about the fact the U.S. is doing anything in Cuba. Do you agree it's time to kind of put that policy behind us, that policy of containment, and hope that the people would get pissed off enough to overthrow their government? Do you think it's time? Is it safe? Do we agree that with the idea, or that we that Obama wasn't necessarily wrong for trying to so-called open up trade
Oh, are you asking it?
Yeah,
do
what do
I
you
believe
yeah,
was
what do you,
Obama right or wrong?
Yeah, do you think that
I think Obama was right.
Do you think
Obama? Yeah, he was right
I hate,
to do exactly what he was told to do, just like everything else during his administration.
I'm not a fan of Obama. Everybody, no secret. I'm not.
What's
But
the thing?
I think he was right about the Cuba thing.
But that will get you some hate, and
I don't care.
Oh, I
think he
know.
was right.
All right.
I agree with him. I think he did the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why we've carried this grudge with them this long
I don't
anyways.
either. I think it's stupid.
And we kind of sort of.
This man took control
Very-
when Eisenhower was in office.
very briskly, but we kind of sort of do business with Russia, which was kind of how that whole, kind of stirred that whole.
Well, you're right. Cuba's the big. I mean, communist China's the biggest buyer of
Well,
U.S.
it's Raul
debt.
now. It's his brother, but whatever.
Communist China, you mean all that stuff down at Walmart right now?
Yeah,
Right.
that's the thing.
Yeah, we
Everybody
do.
wants
I
to
bought
have
some
these
of it this
human
week.
rights conversations.
Full
We just
disclosure.
got done, Saudi Arabia. Hello, we're talking, but we can't, listen, we can't deal with what's happening in Cuba. I know that there's been 70 beheadings in this other country, but they have real money and we want what they have.
Yeah.
It's cute. If
we want that stuff they have.
Look how close that Cuba is to the United States. I'm surprised that regime change is not, of all the states that the U.S. federal government's entities have overthrown, I am genuinely surprised. Operation Northwoods was standing. I know there's been some attempts. I'm surprised that Cuba has not been overthrown and taken by the United States government, considering how close they are and how many countries would really seriously react, outrage or not. I'm genuinely surprised that we've not seen that already out of this country. But, it goes to feed the idea that nothing makes sense out of these federal government. If it was about human rights, that would have probably been done a long time ago, along with North Korea, and like you said, Saudi Arabia and such. Those ties would definitely be over. But
Yeah, that Saudi Arabia has all that money.
Well, not to mention
Well,
schools.
it's not really the money. They got the money because they got the oil.
Yeah.
And that's what the people want.
Well, I'm sure you guys have seen.
And why we haven't completely started pulling away from our dependence on oil. We've done a good job up until now. Well,
have they done a good job? Have they done a great job?
We've done better.
Oh,
about what,
come
getting away from
on.
foreign oil?
Well,
Please spare me. Please spare me. That's not true. That's a lie.
Why is that a lie?
In 1972, 73, the Opal, the car got 3 and something miles a gallon, whatever it was.
Way back
You can blame a
when. You
lot
weren't
of
even
that on
born
the
then.
EPA.
And it was like a 1959 car they hooked it up to.
Well, it's
and give me a break.
Yeah.
remember when Obama came in office.
And that right
I
there.
believe them not.
We could do a whole entire show on that. That would be awesome, actually. But
I believe them not.
yeah. Yeah, well, there is still, for some reason or another, oil has the value that it has. Oil and petroleum is a very valuable product, but at the same time,
it has to be refined, and you have to have a market for it.
The
U.S. is
You
working.
have to have a market for it.
Let me
Bingo.
explain something to why drug dealers make so much money.
There we go.
Because there's no end.
What do you,
Hopefully
and what?
for people there's end. There's no.
What do you mean, in supply or what?
With a lot of people, there's no end. There's no end with drugs. People are always going to need drugs. Always. People will always. And it's going to be an endless supply. Once you have somebody that's hooked on something, and they have to have it. Their system craves it, which people in the United States do for travel. They're dependent on oil. Big money, airplane.
Have to drive
everything.
your job. Yeah.
Yes.
Got to get that
the
package
economy
from Amazon.
would shut down.
Yep.
Oh, of course.
Shut down. So everybody's completely dependent on oil. So we're hooked. There's nothing we can do.
And you just brought up a valuable point earlier because we don't need, especially for passenger cars, we don't need it.
Right. They could technologically, and they could have, and I don't want to hear, look, again, 70s, you get a car 300 something miles a gallon, 1959 Opel. Look, I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I have this specific thing. It's just me, my personal belief. I don't believe with the technology they have, they still are using that. I don't buy it. That's just me personally. Mm-hmm. It's just my gut feeling.
Yep. Then you're right. You're absolutely right.
I think they could have been away from it.
You think?
Well,
Too much money. Why is a drug dealer look
right now?
Who is they?
The last thing a drug dealer wants is for you to make those drugs legal, because then his business dries up. It's the same thing.
We've all heard the same stories about people inventing gasoline, water-powered motors and having their patents brought out.
Hydrogen-powered.
Yeah. There's a guy in Bessemer, in our local city, who has one.
Bo Jackson.
And I didn't know, but Bo probably does. He, I wouldn't be surprised. But, no, that's
you
not
just
him.
wanted to bring up Bo Jackson.
Hey, he's the man, dude. 30 for 30.
Yeah.
That's a badass.
He's all right. He's all right.
No, but you guys, and y'all probably know this.
So,
did you guys see the one of Obama's advisors shortly after getting to office was on record, had a real interesting clip where he said that under this administration, under their plan, that gas prices would necessarily skyrocket. Now we've got the government trying to implement policies supposedly to force oil, at least this administration and this EPA, to try to push people to what Cass Sunstein said, to nudge people towards the decisions that they think society should make collectively towards more clean so-called energy. But we've got Saudi Arabia, and a lot of these actual OPEC countries are sponsoring a lot of the environmental studies in this country that a lot of the left are using to try to lobby Congress to keep us from advancing any kind of, like you were mentioning, Shannon, why we're not getting closer to be more dependent on our own oil here. Well, that's one of the reasons. Tons of environmental studies and government regulations preventing such. Yeah. Either way, it's state-sponsored impediment.
Federal oversight, federal overreach, taxes, insurances, things that are all necessary to be able to run a business in America. And we wonder why a lot of these...
Oh, the roads.
Oh, and that
my roads. What am I going to do without my roads?
Well, that being said, the Keystone Pipeline.
I might to build my own road.
How many people are touting the Keystone Pipeline as such necessary? It would be a great thing, but did people actually stop and realize that to have the Keystone Pipeline, the federal government would have to use eminent domain to take so much land? So we're going to have.
We don't know of any situations where the government takes land away from people from eminent domain. But
right.
Anyways, go ahead.
And if you're going out there, if you're a voter for Trump, hey, listen. If you don't know what eminent domain is, you're going to know when Trump gets in office, because you think that people out west have a case for the BLM claiming U.S. property. Watch how much property that Trump claims. If he's going to take an old lady's house to build a casino, which he did.
Safety zone.
He did ultimately lose that. For those of y'all know where he did.
He's going to start seizing stuff
left and right. He justifies it every time by saying that, they're getting paid for it.
Here's what it's going to be.
Fair market value of $5, take it or leave it.
That was Donald Jr. He's running a business. Okay? That was his decision. That has nothing to do with me. I'm over here running the country.
Right.
He made a business decision in his business
to use the federal government.
He did not speak directly to me. He went through whatever channel he went through, and they approved it. Has nothing to do with me. That's his business. That will be the
argument.
Excuse. That's what Trump will say.
Right.
As he gives away all this land to himself.
You know what would be a genuine fear is that more people that if Trump does get elected, that people will listen to him explain eminent domain, and suddenly all these people who would otherwise agree with us on that the government should be able to take your land for whatever, will suddenly be like, he'll be like, suddenly, Trump says it, I never really thought about eminent domain, but sure, yeah, it makes sense for the greater good.
He does a good job explaining it. That's the thing about him. He can make these horrible things. Horrible.
And convince you why you benefit from having an old lady's house taken to build a golf course for somebody you'll never meet, never play on. But he'll have you rooting for that, son of a bitch.
It was the toughest deal I ever had, and probably the toughest deal ever in the history of deals.
No, the toughest deal ever is Israel, Palestine.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're all going to be tough. That's
toughest deal.
They're all tough deals. He's a deal maker, negotiator.
Trust him.
The deal guy, making more deals than any used car salesman you ever met in your whole life.
Just trust him, and that's the number one. We've all heard that when somebody says trust them, that's when you should think, about second guessing.
Now, how have we gone this whole entire broadcast and not even brought up Hillary Clinton? You want to talk about an evil person?
Because who doesn't know? Even Hillary Clinton, and that's what.
So what?
One of our mutual knowledge friends, comments that if you're talking about Trump, but you're not talking about Clinton, then you're a two-faced whatever. Dude, who doesn't know everything about Clinton? We're not you're not going to convince, who does not, I mean, there's a few core, have you met anybody? There's probably maybe 5 people I can count of that actually
a lot of people
for
have
Clinton.
forgotten recently how evil of a person Hillary Clinton is because all of the conversation and the spotlight has been on Monsieur Trump.
But do you think they'll turn around and go vote for Clinton now because they have that short seat? I don't see that.
She's definitely going to galvanize some Democrats, some, not all, because there are some people that are still pretty burned by the whole situation with Mr. Bernie Sanders.
I don't think she will gain.
Bernie don't know how to cheat at Monopoly. I mean,
Do you think Bernie will tell everybody? I think
if you want to be president, you got to learn how to cheat.
You know what would happen?
Don't you ever watch House of Cards?
When Bernie doesn't get it, he'll tell all of his supporters that they need to back Clinton because as bad as she is, she's not Trump.
He's going to have to be on the ticket.
But do you think
he's going to have to be on the ticket.
Will?
He's going to have to be.
I would agree that he should have to, but stranger things have happened.
I'm not saying he's not on the ticket. It doesn't matter what he says, what he does. A lot of his supporters will not vote because they're not going to vote for her. They're going to vote third party or they're going to vote for Trump.
It's funny you mentioned that because Gary Johnson just polled in double digits, with a actually pretty respectable poll, not just some fly-by-night polls. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of people going third party that hopefully.
AntiMedia Radio. We are starting hour 2. It is 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific on March the 24th, 2016. My name is S.M. Gibson. Joining the studio, Kevin Knight, Shannon Madden.
Hello.
And on the line, in the middle of Ohio, Claire Burnish, our wonderful journalist. Joining us for hour 2. Miss Claire, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well today. How are you?
Doing good. And
hey, Miss Claire, how you doing this evening?
If you listen for the bottom of the hour, we may be having a special guest on, so hopefully that'll be happening.
Awesome.
So, Miss Claire, talk to us about what stories you have on the front page today.
Actually, I've been so busy, I don't even know. But I do have something big for tomorrow that I think everybody will really like. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's going to be a good one. It has to do with drug policy in the U.S.
Well, remember that a lot of our callers are going to be listening via YouTube, and so the article will already be out. While most people are listening to us, which people can listen to our replays on YouTube by searching for AntiMedia Radio into the little search bar and hitting search.
Well, I will say that there is a state that is looking to the successful policies of Portugal. So.
Interesting.
And, Portugal has sought throughout, for those who don't know, of basic universal legalization and to help people and to treat people.
Legalization of what we refer to as illegal drugs.
Yeah, and all of them too, including heroin and cocaine and stuff like that. But they had amazing results. Portugal experienced, according to the Cato Institute, which did a study on the success of their program, they had a decrease in drug-related deaths. Obviously a decrease in trafficking convictions because they still, in large quantities, I think they're still illegal if I remember correctly. They found a decrease in the rate that, adolescents and young people actually use illicit drugs. I mean, it was an all-around successful program. They are keeping people out of prison, instead giving them treatment, and it's working really, really well.
And here's the frustrating thing for me is you get the argument that we want to keep drugs illegal because we don't want people doing drugs. We want to stop people from doing drugs. But if you want drugs illegal, that means you want everybody on the drugs. You want everybody doing drugs. You're just because you want to do drugs. That's why you want them legal. It's like, no. I don't think you want people I just want junkies littering the streets. That's my utopia. I just want heroin junkies on every street corner. I don't think anybody wants that. I think everybody wants to see people living happy, healthy lives and not being strung out on drugs. We're seeing the numbers decrease with legalization.
That's what people don't realize.
Decrease.
You have to stress that so much.
So all the people that are like, you got to keep them illegal because we don't want people doing drugs. It's like, if you really want people to stop, let's get people help.
Right. Legalize it. Yeah, right. Exactly.
And let's get people to stop doing the drugs. Let's get them to stop as opposed to punishing them and actually ruining their lives.
Because,
way worse.
We have so many different
than a lot of these drugs could.
Legal substances that are being abused horribly. Prescription medication.
Oh,
wow. Alcohol. It's, ugh.
That goes back to what we were kind of referencing earlier in the first hour of the show. But the pharmaceutical companies getting involved and they want drugs to stay illegal. Because guess what? It's more money for everybody. It's more money for the drug dealers. It's more money for the pharmaceutical companies.
We haven't even brought
that's
marijuana into this discussion.
It's obviously money to the state and local governments, obviously, especially with a lot of
private prison industry.
Right.
Yes.
There's so much money to be made.
And we're just 4 individuals that know people that have been through this, maybe have been through it ourselves, but go and listen to officers from organizations like LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and listen to these people who've been there, who've seen it, who've been on the other side of it, who've actually, at one time, were really actually arresting people for these crimes, and listen to what they tell you about how exactly what Gibson was just saying about crime use actually going down, about drug use going down. It's not just crime from drugs, but actual use of said drugs and the effects on society are going down. Listen to these law enforcement officers say this, and then make your decision if you disagree with us.
Well, I know the town of Massachusetts has started. I believe there's a couple more towns that are
Gloucester. That's former home of Mr. Vermin Spring.
Your boy.
Yeah, Worcester, Massachusetts actually did really well. They invited I believe it was a police officer invited people to come to the station, and even if they brought the drugs with them that they normally used, if they wanted treatment, they can go and turn the drugs in and turn themselves in and ask for treatment, and the police help them find treatment. And that is also working well and starting to eliminate the heroin use is like an epidemic. It's a really big problem in the country, and it's starting to solve the problem in that city. And then a bunch of other cities are kind of catching on that, and they're starting to implement the same program.
That's so lame. They should just punch them in the face. That's how you stop it.
Well, how you stop it is, you can't forget that this all
get them no good thugs.
We can't forget a lot of this stuff didn't happen until Afghanistan. In the war in Afghanistan, how much, this gigantic rise in heroin deaths has largely been as a result, or since at least the war in Afghanistan started. So we're going to continue to battle this as long as we continue to stay in Afghanistan and Iraq.
That's conspiracy talk.
It is that.
Are you trying to suggest to me that Afghanistan is nothing more than an extension of the drug war?
Hamed Karzai's brother is the second largest, supposedly really big mover of said drugs. We've seen the videos, and even Geraldo Rivera has been over there with troops doing interviews where they're walking through the
Did he find Jimmy Hoffa?
No, he didn't find the gold at the bottom of the Federal Reserve either. Or the, where was it?
Fort Knox.
Yeah, Fort Knox, yeah.
Whenever I'm having a bad day, I just go in and pop on YouTube and pull up an old Geraldo. A Geraldo clip, like when he's getting smacked up against the head by a KKK member or something.
Is that when he got the bloody nose?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
No, there's no way you can forget about that. You can never unsee that. It's awesome.
But seriously, when you're looking to solve problems, this is one of the easiest ways to solve problems in this country. If we decriminalized all drugs, just look at what Portugal did. They had a huge problem with a heroin epidemic and everything else, and it's just, it really has solved their problems in a rather sweeping way.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And, you remove government out of a situation and it kind of just takes care of itself.
Well, on that note, a good thing we saw was Colorado.
I don't do drugs. I don't want people doing drugs. That's not the whole point of legalizing.
No,
that.
it's not.
It's not.
I mean, at the same time, if a grown consenting adult wants to go full with something like that, then that's their business. Why do we have to legalize or legislate that?
Right.
And props to Colorado for turning down was it Colorado Supreme Court or the actual U.S. Supreme Court? But so other states were actually trying to take Colorado to court over their legalization of cannabis. And
Yeah, that was the U.S. Supreme Court.
Right. I guess from my understanding, they refused to hear that case from other states concerning that. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, the Supreme Court was like, nope, we don't even want to hear about it because, this obviously, basically the federal law on marijuana prohibition is kind of not really being enforced at this point, and it seems kind of arbitrary that it's still in place.
What did they cite as their justification for not hearing it? Surely it wasn't state sovereignty or any kind of 10th Amendment issue. I'm sure.
Looking at those tax receipts and seeing how much federal income they got from those, all of those dispensaries and all the legal pot.
Hey, that brings up an interest. We've all heard that supposedly Colorado sold so much pot that they had to return all this money back to the citizens. I guess, did you guys hear that?
I've seen that.
Yeah, well, I hate to be a buzzkill, but there was a lot more to that. In fact, that wasn't really where all the state money come from, my understanding. And we can get it. I can supply a link for that later. But I don't see the federal government as making that much of a difference. If that was the case, if they were so enticed by that federal money or that money coming in, I think we would see it. They would be more likely to turn a blind eye in other states.
Well,
other than the ones they've done so far.
If we were talking about $150 or something like that, we're talking about how much money again, just from the state of Colorado by themselves?
Right, but the federal government pisses that away on every hour, So
it doesn't matter. It's still positive revenue. How are you going to thumb your nose at positive revenue?
Because it brings up it brings up the issue again that the states are shooting the feds a bird and saying, listen, federal issue policy is this formally. It's written and codified. We're going against it. So by the federal government giving any credence to the state to basically do what they want.
And if the federal government wasn't making money about it, I'm sure there would be a lot more opposition. Hello?
There's still some policy issues there, I think, that are probably holding them up. And a lot of legislation. But, the federal government probably at this point does not have a lot of incentive to stop it. Correct.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
That would be
ago.
Every single dollar that they got last year from pot sales and legal pot sale in Colorado.
It's just hard to believe that that's very much money at all whatsoever compared to as much.
Corporations can do it.
Got you there. Claire is.
I think it's an interesting point that actually it's a federal marijuana prohibition is a federal law, but at this point it's really state by state. That the states are basically establishing policy now,
right.
At least on cannabis. I mean, that's kind of, it's different now.
Yeah, we recognize that. Yeah, but I think Shannon was making the point that the federal government is refusing. The Supreme Court doesn't care; they're not enforcing it, whereas they could because they're getting a financial.
Yeah, because what if other states decide to do the same thing? Why would they want to go ahead and set a precedent for other states to go ahead and at least give it a try and send some more money the government's way? Come on now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just throwing that out
there.
Well,
let me ask you.
Somebody going to tell me I get some more money from a situation, but I can go ahead and decide to be against that situation and not get that money? I don't know, man. How much money are we talking about here?
If that were the case, I'm just surprised.
$150? Yeah, okay, I'll step in. This is federal law. Nobody's going to flip a bird at me. Oh, how much?
If that's the case, and we have as many states as we're seeing already going that way.
Let's just sit back and see how this thing plays out.
Well, I'm surprised that the federal government has not made some kind of, at least been more, if in fact this is something financial that the government wants to make. I don't hear a lot of, it's one thing to turn a blind eye to, it's another thing to be a spokesman for. The federal government doesn't seem to be pushing marijuana.
Oh, no.
And so that's why I say, if they thought they could make more money off of
Nancy
it,
Reagan is not quite cold yet. Come on now. Just say no.
Claire, you may know the answer to this. I know even for a long time, I know California and areas have been kind of, they've been fighting this battle of, hey, it's legal in the state, but it's illegal to the federal government. But to my understanding, Bush and they are still, are the feds not still continuously in some places raiding. And I think actually, as I asked, are they? I think I've still read a few reports where these, even in Colorado and California, these almost paratrooper-like organizations, these guys are jumping out of black helicopters and tearing down fields and destroying fields in people's backyards. In some cases, people that are allowed to grow it. Is that not the federal government or that's doing that? Have you heard anything about that, or does that even know what I'm talking about, Claire?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'm not honestly sure like who that is, and I think that's only really to give the guise of the law still being in effect, nationwide. I don't think there's really. We're kind of in that in limbo stage. I mean, there's so many states have varying degrees of either legalization or decriminalization, and I think the federal government still wants to kind of assert its control in some sort of form, but at the same time, it's not enforcing that policy anywhere near the extent that it used to.
I tell you what, I'm going to jump in with my Trump-style authoritarianism here.
When you get to be king, you will set policy.
Oh, yeah. I'm all for being a tyrant and robots. Robot slaves.
You got your robot slave right here.
It's going to be great.
On D's.
But anyways, Claire, I want to move the topic towards a story you've got up on the AntiMedia.org right now. On the front page, that also it's kind of more of, I guess, a topical issue of what's going on around us in the world today. Is government had prior knowledge of Brussels attack, it did nothing.
Where have we heard that one before?
Yeah, it sounds pretty much like all of the necessary authorities who could have thwarted this had very specific knowledge, down to the fact that they knew that an attack was going to happen in Brussels, in the airport, and in the metro station. And I'm not sure if they knew specifically which metro station, but it was fairly obvious. I mean, even Erdogan, president of Turkey, knew that something was going to happen. So all of these authorities knew something was going to happen, and still didn't manage to stop the attack.
And Erdogan went as far as actually referencing Brussels in a speech the other day, of course. I'm sure that's what you're referring to, in Turkey.
So let me play this guy real quick for you, Claire, since you wrote the article. I'm going to be the listener listening to what you just said and go, nah, that's BS. How do you know that? Tell me how we know they knew that the attacks were coming.
They had it was my understanding that they had intelligence and they had found evidence of it coming. Erdogan didn't necessarily say that an attack was going to happen there, but he did hint when he said that an attack that had happened in Ankara could happen anywhere. He mentioned Brussels specifically as a place where a terror attack like that could happen. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's not fishy. It's really kind of public knowledge at this point. This isn't conspiracy theory material or anything like that. This is established. So
right. And also, I mean, you even had, hate to say, the broken clock right twice a day. Trump even mentioned Brussels at points. And I definitely don't think Trump's getting any intel. That's
He really did.
He literally mentioned how he just said how
even when he threw it out there, we kind of looked at each other. Brussels. What are you talking about? Brussels for?
how far downhill it had gone.
I'll be honest with you, I can't remember. Who it was.
And
Somebody
of
else
course he was blaming refugees.
Well, he was repeating the claim. I can't remember who it was, but some other figure had made that same claim about the no-go zones. And right before, and I even think it may have been like an Alex Jones type figure. So Trump was not necessarily all omniscient. He was parroting what like you said, Claire, other people already knew. But he's getting, of course, the credit for it.
Well, it's also worth noting that Brussels is home to European Union buildings and councils and such. I mean, it's a really international city. It makes sense that there would be an attack there. It's not arbitrary, in other words.
And Jean-Claude Van Damme is from there as well.
Definitely right.
From Brussels.
The towers came down. The Twin Towers were the head of the financial capital of the world. So it's no surprise, that Brussels, being what it is to the EU and to the world, would be a target. It's a symbol.
Right.
Do you think there's any, we've had reports about American Airlines.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. They said that this was also an attack on the United States because it was an American airline.
Right. Do we think, is that, I guess there could have been, of all the airlines to have been in Brussels, does it seem a little bit odd that they would not, for all of them to have been, it was actually an American Airlines? It seems, does that sound intended? Do you
now,
guys,
what are y'all's thoughts towards, and I haven't, allowed myself to dive in towards any of them, but some of the conspiracy theories that are floating around, have y'all entertained any of this?
Yeah, the only one I have entertained is the follow-up about up to supposedly 400 terror cells. That's the only one that I disbelieve. But what about you, Claire? You started to say like you, I'm sure you've probably seen plenty of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's this Mormon missionary kid who has shown up at Boston and Paris and Belgium now. So, of course, people are running wild with theories on that one. I have not decided on that. I don't believe in coincidence.
From Utah, that he was at the Boston bombing with his dad.
Hold on, we're seeing pictures of what looks like the kid, or the kid?
No, it's him.
No, he said it. He actually came out and said he'd been to all of these. He'd been there.
Yeah.
Oh my! Stay away from that kid if he leaves the country. Really,
there. Like,
don't let him leave.
Yeah.
Or make him leave and stay in one other place. Wow. So what else is we hearing? So.
But that was the biggest one that I heard. I'm not sure if there are any others. I mean, the fact that all these government authorities and officials seem to know about the attack ahead of time is obviously raising some red flags.
Yeah, I know that they're, I don't know.
I still can't get over this whole Mormon kid. What has he got, like a Bible and a gun? I mean, it's like, it sounds like a graphic novel. DC needs to get in on this story.
I just know.
Frank Miller, are you listening?
I'm sure Frank Miller is listening right now. Yeah. I appreciate your support.
I want some props.
Hey, just out of curiosity, somebody
Stanley listens.
Somebody just asked me this, Claire. You probably would know. We've heard talk about Soros being involved in some of the other issues, the bigger protests. Have you heard anything about a conference that was held in Brussels the day before the attack? Any idea of a big, maybe international conference of some sort that was held?
I heard that there was supposed to be a conference on recognizing Palestine as a state on the day in Brussels, but I still have not had the chance to look into that anymore. And I've heard there were other things too, but that was one of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is some nasty, nasty business right here.
Well, and of course it's only going to, according to the authorities, it's only going to get worse. I personally, I don't believe I'm sure you guys have now heard that supposedly we have, and this is the key word, up to 400 so-called, it went from, we have 400 cells to up to 400 jihadists that are all over the country ready to attack at any moment. And supposedly authorities have learned that. Of course, this is after we keep hearing the same news authorities repeating this over and over and over. So I would be curious where this is at. To me, it sounds like more fear-mongering, as I would be wondering why had these guys waited until now. But, at the same time, you say the authorities may have known about this other attack right before it happened. Could they be saying this because they fear that there actually is legitimately going to be an attack of some sort?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but authorities in Paris actually arrested a bunch of people and found, getting ready to, they were in the advanced stages of plotting a terror attack, supposedly, so.
So possibly, huh?
I don't know. I don't know what to think. And with all of with the roots of Daesh and stuff, I mean, it's hard to tell. It's just hard to say for sure with any certainty at all.
Yeah, I heard about the police raid going on in Paris, and they say that they foiled the new plot. If nothing else, especially in a place like Paris that suffered 2 attacks now in recent year and a half or less, this is always a great excuse to start taking away rights from people.
Exactly.
And especially in Paris, they're like, what happened where? Oh, it wasn't us this time. That's good. Here, we don't care. Come on in. Keep it safe.
Right.
We don't want to be us next time.
We kind of predicted that when we talked about the Paris attacks, like shortly after they happened, when they implemented the state of emergency and basically gave sweeping authority to lock people under house arrest, like without warrants, and search houses at whim and stuff like that. We said, I bet that the state of emergency is going to be continued past the 3-month time they're saying. And sure enough, it has been. And the citizens were like protesting that widely and crazily because it's very oppressive and it gives the police like way too much power, and yet it's still in effect. And, you know, after the attacks in Brussels, now we have Clinton and all these other people saying, we need more police, we need more surveillance. It's like, well, this is predictable.
You know, it's like at the Boston bombing, you know, they put the curfew out and we're still looking for the bombers for however long. And then once the curfew was lifted, a guy went out to take a smoke break and found the guy actually hiding in his boat. You know, and it was a citizen all that time, cops everywhere, impeding, you know, holding people at hostage at gunpoint, families, people that obviously had nothing to do with it, under martial law in effect. And then once it's over, a citizen finds the actual person.
See, the Boston thing, I think, is a really great example because I think you hear a lot of people say, well, you know, look, you got to have the curfew, okay? Look, we don't want to get hurt. They want to keep us safe. We don't want to get blown up.
We get that, right.
But when you see the pictures of Boston, like it was shut down. This is like this huge, vibrant, bustling metropolis, and it was a ghost town. It was creepy.
Yeah, but and Boston's not like what we have here in Birmingham. Boston is a huge, massive city.
And there's so many other questions that surround that. Probably more than, and for me personally, more than probably any other event as far as what the authorities.
And people were okay with it.
Right. Well, the authorities knew who these guys were. Again, Russia.
People were okay with it.
I'm not going to get into.
That's what I mean.
I'm not going to get into that.
Well, it's like Claire said about this particular incident. You know, it seems like authorities quite possibly had prior knowledge to some extent that this may have actually been going on. But regardless, it happened, and now the state will grow, liberties will die, and we will still have, and we'll still have more terrorist attacks, unfortunately.
That's right.
Hooray!
You know, Rahm Emanuel's theory.
We're so free and safe. Yay!
Rahm Emanuel's theory about never let a crisis go to West. That's not just something that Rahm came up with.
No. That's been going on since the beginning of time. And if you have to manufacture the crisis, I don't think they're above doing that.
Oh, right.
That doesn't mean that every time something happens, it's like, oh, it's, I don't know, that's
There's
fishy.
another false flag waving again. You know?
No, I think,
but then again,
sometimes
there are so many events that happen that are not really quite explainable. That Sandy Hook, anybody?
I don't know. I don't know.
Get into.
Yeah, you can go into that all night
And again,
long.
we could go into it all night long instead of it just being an incident.
There's a lot of questions.
You know.
Say what you will. There's a lot of questions.
There are.
I don't know what to think. Fishy.
Fishy.
Fishy stuff. Don't trust it. What do you think, Claire? What do you think about, would the government try to harm you? Would they try to hurt you?
Of course. Of course the government would. I just don't think that every time an attack or something crazy happens, every time it's not a false flag.
No.
It is not necessarily government engineered. They certainly do that. That's been proven. It does happen, but it's not every single time.
Right. And I think that, I think when you get the people that scream that every time out, I think that hurts. And that's not to say, I think it's good that people question this stuff. I think it's good.
It's a symptom, though. It's a symptom,
right,
of the overall distrust people have.
Also, I think that it's worth noting that in a way the government has engineered a lot of these terror attacks in the first place by, fueling the rise of Daesh in the Middle East and arming and aiding Al-Qaeda and everything else. I mean, so in that sense, yeah, this is all engineered, but it's really kind of like stemming from that.
Yes, and they benefited, regardless if they engineered it or not. They benefited in it. And
and they've taken advantage of it.
Right. Ironically, I'm sure you guys may have read this, the Spanish-American War. You know what kicked off a lot of that? Believe it or not, another false flag attack when a Spanish ship was destroyed in American Harbor, and it turned out that the U.S. was responsible for that too. It's a long history of U.S. starting, and we're not the only country by any means that does this. And I don't think it should reflect on America and the people. I think it needs to be a point needs to be made occasionally that these are entities within the federal government that are doing these things, not the American people or the American citizenry. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes, though, and it's not limited to the U.S.
Yes, and unfortunately, I think a lot of Americans view other countries
as the only ones, right?
That's it. I'm going to go to area code 541. Thank you for calling AntiMedia Radio. This is your host, Aston Gibson. Tell us your name and where you're calling from tonight.
My name is Mike, and I was just wanting to clarify that there might be a discrepancy in what a false flag is. Now, a false flag may not necessarily be everything that was set up and done, but it was certainly allowed to be done. Like the FBI sets up all of these patsies for their terror program that they flaunt in front of everybody, and they say, look, we prevented this terror attack after we encouraged and helped create it, right? And this is the problem. You can't blame the FBI. They're always blaming the patsy. And this is on an international stage and a stage of even larger than international. So it's not just the fact that they set it all up, but it's that they know what's going on and they allow other people to, take the fall for it.
It happens all the time. Yeah, you're right. Judge Napolitano spoke. That's arguably one of the things that got him booted off Fox. But you're right. It happens a lot, and it does. It's going to continue happening. It's definitely not just Western countries, man. But hey, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate you calling in. We got somebody else making their way in. But hey, he's not wrong for sure.
No, not at all. And yeah, he brought up a good point. They allowed it to happen. Knew it was going to happen. Allowed it to happen.
Allowed it to happen, right? And allow somebody else to place the blame.
I mean, it's not like we're in charge of these people. These little citizen people.
That's it, but that's what I wanted to say. I think a problem with the United States is we use these other countries and we look at, say, Iran, for instance, and I think a lot of Americans look at Iran and go, ooh, the evil Iranians. Like they're all just over there, like, petting cats, making pipe bombs, talking about how they hate the United States.
Right. They keep saying that one clip of "We hate America." We hate America.
Yeah, that's the perception I think Americans have.
Mm-hmm.
We know that.
That's what they want them to.
Go back and see American Sniper. That is the absolute perfect example of the average, the people that are, ISIS and
they want
terror and all this other stuff. That is the image that they have of these people. And some of these people that are over there are just ordinary citizens like you and I saying the
some
same
of these
things.
People,
God,
most
why does our government hate these people? And why are we hated here? And why is all this hate going on?
Well, like Claire mentioned a minute ago, don't forget that,
of course, in Iran, you can't mention it as loudly as you do.
That doesn't mean that, the Iranians are good. These governments are horrible. They're horrible.
And don't forget how we got there. The U.S. has not exactly kept their hands out of involvement in Iran's affairs. And people have strong memories, long memories about us imposing dictators and overthrowing dictators and, funding various exploits like that.
Yep.
And also, it has to be said that, this xenophobic rhetoric and kind of hot air that's being thrown around, all that does is really fuel the hatred of, the hatred of the kind of popular thought of what America is. And that kind of boasting and like wanting to be basically an isolationist country, like throw up walls and stuff like that. That just fuels resentment and works right into the picture and makes the cycle continue.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that angers me. There's so many people, and that unfortunately the American people, you and I, the listeners, we get called up and blamed for the actions of a federal government that would act however they would. And people say Americans, and we talk about America, we talk about we, the country, and unfortunately we get lumped into that. But I think most Americans at this point, and for a long time, would say that Washington does not represent them. So when a lot of times when Washington, for instance, is funding jihadists or training jihadists or overthrowing regimes, and we say America, or other people say America, we've got to remember that is not us. That is not the American people. That is a completely separate entity that even goes so far as to fraudulently claim that they're acting on our benefit in our name.
And particularly vote.
Like you said, though, it's the same thing for other countries, too. Like, we can't sit here and just say, like, well, Iran did this. It's like making the state the entire body of all the people who live there, and that's not fair. Because people, in a lot of these places, people are born there, and it's not as if they can just up and leave. It's like, wow, I hate my government, I'm going to just up and leave. People don't magically have the means to do that.
Leave it.
All right, where do I get to go?
If you don't love it, leave it.
Yeah.
Get out.
Walls serve two purposes. Remember that, y'all.
People forget that. Hey, they think that door is just going to always
Why do you want to leave America? America's safe,
Yeah,
man. It's great. We made it great again.
Hey,
why do you want to leave here?
Regardless about the wall, I don't think for 1 second that wall is not going to be built, and we're seeing Trump.
I think it's the one thing he will do.
You think so, really?
Oh, yeah. I don't care. I don't care if it's 4 foot high.
Know.
There will be a wall up there.
Look at what we already have on the border there. I mean, it's like an impenetrable wall that looks just an awful lot like what Israel has.
But he's,
for reference sake.
He's going to build a better wall and make it great again.
So they say. The rumor floating around is he won't build the wall.
Floating.
He's not going to build the wall. Well, who knows? We'll see. I don't trust it. It's the one thing he's adamant about. I know that.
I think
he won't give you an answer about anything, but he'll tell you he's going to build that wall.
I think he'd build, at least if he wasn't going to build the wall, he'd build a wall and just, well, yeah, I built the wall. Look, it's not the greatest wall yet. We're working on it. We're working on it. We're making that wall great again.
That wall was like the first thing that he brought up at the rally that I went to of his.
His ego's too big, and he never lived down not building that wall.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like the other stuff he would say politics, but that wall, that's not politics.
The wall will not be
too
built.
Entrenched
it can't be built while he's even in office.
He's
still got to have Congress to pay for it.
No.
Mexico's
paying for that wall. Where are you paying?
Pay for it, man.
That's right. I forgot.
Mexico's got that. They got that covered, man.
What does he even mean by that? What does that even mean?
Does it really matter? He's going to do it. Just trust him.
I think Vicente Fox had it pretty correct about
I'm
the
going to pay
wall
for that
and,
damn wall.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Hey, Vicente Fox is the same one on Larry King who was asked. And
we're not going to pay for that.
Hey,
let's
American Union.
If you're going to quote Vicente Fox, and especially in a matter that he feels this strongly about, you need to go ahead and say exactly what the man said. We are not going to build that fucking wall.
I thought he said he would not.
Well, whatever.
If you're going to quote him, the man, quote him correctly there, son.
I hate you. Weren't you fired earlier?
I was. But
Hey, he's back.
He was fired before me.
Can I still be fired?
Oh, yeah, you're still fired. He's back, though. He's redeemed himself.
I'm going to use your shower.
Claire hadn't been fired.
Not yet.
No, he hadn't even flirted with the idea.
It's your show. I don't get to fire anybody.
I'm tromping out.
Doubling down.
Tromping out.
I don't think I've ever heard the term double down more often than I have in reference to Trump. Trump is just he just doubles down everywhere he goes.
Yeah, he ain't no Charles Barkley, but whatever. I tell you what, I wanted to bring up a story we've got up on the website right now as well about a man was arrested for not returning a VHS tape. VHS tape from the year 2000.
You might have to explain to some of our younger listeners what a VHS is.
I don't have time for that. I ain't got time for that.
See, kids, before there was YouTube, before there were DVDs, there were these big, giant, huge black boxes, and they had this little tape that stretched for like 900 miles, and it actually had a movie on it. And you could go to this place. They had this cool little place. It's called Blockbuster. They have Blockbusters everywhere, but long before they had Blockbusters, they had these little mom and pop video stores. I mean, they were all independently, locally owned video stores.
So this guy
They fine you for not rewinding it.
Oh yes,
this guy checked out Freddy Got Fingered with Tom Green.
Awesome.
Great movie,
And it
dude.
fell
I love
behind-
that movie. I love it. I love the movie.
It fell anyway, they lost the tape.
He should be arrested,
Gone.
man. Somebody lost their copy of Freddy Got Fingered. There's probably like 4 copies now left.
So
That was a
years
collector's
later,
many years later,
after being pulled over by the authorities multiple times.
yeah, just for normal traffic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Sir, you wearing your seatbelt?
Man had never
cell
been.
phone.
The man had never been arrested in his life.
Yeah.
Has now been arrested, put in handcuffs because he did not return his VHS copy of Freddy Got Fingered. It sounds like the only thing that's getting fingered here is Lady Liberty herself, and freedom is being abandoned.
The video store isn't even open anymore. It's like long been closed.
Right,
Like
the business isn't
Blockbuster
even
is
open.
not even open anymore. There's no such thing as a video store anymore. And, yeah, you got basically it was the Red Box, like a giant, huge, massive version of Red Box.
Except, yeah,
way less efficient. And they had some little smart ass teenager
yeah.
smacking.
They
gum.
would sing at you. We had one they
Welcome
sing
to
at you.
Blockbuster. Can I help you?
Dude, you could spend like an hour and a half in there too, man.
Oh yeah,
I loved
man.
it.
Yeah, because I'm a movie
I'm-
buff. Yeah.
I've got to say, I'm wondering how this guy got arrested for this. If the store is closed, it probably already collected insurance money for this tape, too. So, you know, in loss, in product. So that doesn't even make sense.
The warrant was still there.
Yeah.
It was still in the book somehow, even though it was never noticed before.
You know, my dad was arrested for the same thing back in the 80s. This is an honest to God true
Freddy
story.
Got Fingered?
No, not Freddy Got Fingered. It was a long, long time ago, back when video stores first became kind of a thing in the 80s. My dad's got this really bad thing about collecting things. He's kind of manic depressive about
Dad's
it.
a badass, dude. Don't say that.
Oh, my dad he's wonderful, but he goes to collect anything or he gets into anything. He just submerges into it.
You're manic
Kind of like
depressive
Chris
about
Cooper's
it.
character in Adaptation, you know, he just gets into all these different things. Anyways, he's got in this little phase where he was renting videos every night. He wouldn't just rent 1 or 2. He'd come home with like armloads of videotapes that he'd rent. Well, one of the videotapes, he put them on top of the TV. It fell back behind the TV. And we didn't find it till years later when we went to move away from that house. But we were eating dinner one night, just sitting there, just normal night. And I come from a very large family. I think there was probably about 5 of us then, 5 or 6 of us then. So we're all around the kitchen table eating, our dining room table eating dinner. And we hear a knock on the door. And my dad kind of looks through the screen door. This is back when people could still leave their doors open. And there was a police officer there. So he goes over. He actually had a friend of his that was a police officer, and it was the same friend. So he just thought he was there on a social visit. So they sat in small talk for a minute, and the officer kind of looks over at the kids and my mom and says, hey, can we go outside and talk for a minute? Takes him outside and tells him that he had forgotten to return a videotape. And it had been like 6 or 7 months. My dad had even rented videotapes from the place. And they didn't even tell him. And didn't tell him about the movie. I guess somehow it got lost or this, that, and the other. But they wound up issuing a warrant for his arrest. And they actually showed up at our house. They were really nice about it. They let him put shoes on, and they actually let him drive his car, which that would never happen in this day and age. I let him drive his car over there, and he had to actually check into the police station, and he was actually booked and had to plead guilty in the whole bit. So that's actually on my dad's criminal record, I guess it were. So yeah, that's the thing. And that was a thing back in the 80s.
Yeah, but in
why
the 80s,
it's a thing in 2016?
right? In the that's horrible in the 80s.
After the
Don't
fact.
get it wrong.
And the video store doesn't
criminal
make a dime
to
off
arrest someone
this
for that.
situation. It should have been a civil. It really should have been a civil matter. So
Well, don't forget, it's an FBI crime. It's a federal crime to even record those said tapes. So, you know, it's not just a tape. I think you guys are belittling what you've got in your hand exactly.
I'm going to play Interpol now for next show.
Oh, right. You should.
Interpol.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of like Interpol. I listened to some last weekend, actually.
We're going to come get you.
Yeah.
Freddie got fingered, huh?
Well.
Tom Green actually said that he'll pay the guys fines and stuff if it's not astronomical.
Did he really?
Yeah, he said he feels bad about it.
I wonder how
Tom
many...
Green's come to the guys.
Tom Green should feel bad
many...
about it, because have you ever seen Freddie Got Fingered?
No, he should. That's classic.
Nor do I ever
actually, I think the movie's pretty good.
That is classic Tom Green.
You
dude.
would.
It is a cult classic in the making.
Listen, if you like,
I'm just gonna leave it at that. Rip Torn's in it, man. Rip Torn kicks ass in that baby, man. Plays his dad.
What's the movie with if you like what's the movie with David Spade? I can't believe it.
Don't ever bring David Spade.
David Spade, long hair. You know, I mean, Joe Dirt.
Don't.
If you like Joe Dirt,
don't ever.
Freddie Got Fingered.
Don't ever bring up David Spade in front of me again.
Excuse me.
Do you hear me?
Joe Dirt.
God. Didn't you fire him?
Anyways.
Why is he still here?
You're talking about David Spade.
Back to
you lost.
You're on strike 2.
Right.
That should be strike 8.
For you?
For you, yeah. Hoff.
I didn't bring up David Spade. He did.
I'm not talking about it.
Off topic. I knew
Anyways,
this was going to happen because there's Freddie Got Fingered.
Yeah, Freddie got. Yeah, that's the Freddie Got Fingered.
Now we're going to steer off the path of information. All people want is information.
Hey, I'll be
they
honest
want
with
the
you.
truth.
That's what my Facebook page is now. It's I'm sorry, friends out there. The few friends I have, I may not be following your page anymore because
friends.
Most of my Facebook is like media.
You're friends with that guy from Greece.
Media
I mean,
stuff.
you know, your Facebook,
Greece.
your Facebook street cred went either way up or way down somewhere.
Me?
Yeah,
Greece. He's not from Greece, dude.
Greece is
He's from the Netherlands, bro.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the whole conversation.
I thought you were like
there was
talking
so much
about
to keep up with in that
80s
conversation.
Greece.
All right, trumping out.
I'm still friends with Claire. She kept me on there. She's got a bunch of awesome stuff she posts every day. So,
absolutely.
Actually, I get more links probably from Claire. Claire, I hope you didn't mind that I said this Tuesday. I'm gonna suggest it again because you can follow. They can follow. Listeners can follow you too, right? Without having to actually friend
Yeah,
you.
everybody needs to go Facebook.
Yeah.
Claire.
Yeah.
So you need to seriously follow Claire.
Yeah, you get.
I have a page too. I actually have a journalist page.
Do you really?
You have
I do.
You obviously don't share that very often.
Yeah, she shared it.
I try to put stuff on there every day, but I can't seem to get anybody to go look at it.
Through the stereo, yo, here we go through the stereo.